This is my 8th citywide campaign. I lost a special election in 1995, finished 3rd out of 19 candidates, and came back and have won the next 6 campaigns. So this is number 8, and those were all citywide. 3 terms as an at-large member of City Council, 3 terms as Houston City Controller. So I have the legislative experience as a council member, the administrative experience as City Controller. My job as City Controller is to oversee the city's investments, manage the city's debt. We have a $2 billion investment portfolio, which we manage in-house. We have a $12 billion debt portfolio that we supervise, so a 6-to-1 ratio. And I'm also the city's auditor, and we make sure that the checks go out the door. Staff of about 75 people in the controller's office. Thank you for the question. No, neither Mr. Locke nor I has ever managed something as large as the city of Houston, but there are very few people who have managed a $4 billion corporation with 21,000 employees, and that is what the city of Houston is. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question about clean air, and I asked it of Mr. Locke too. And basically, Clear Lake is kind of at the southeasternmost tip of the city of Houston, fairly surrounded by smaller cities and towns that have refineries and chemical plants. And that air does have a tendency to blow either south or north over this area, and it's very noticeable. Clean air is an issue out here. Bill White was very popular out here. A lot of us work for him. And he worked very hard, took some very discreet steps to try to control the pollution that was coming from those cities and towns. And I ran into some barriers, and although he did a lot, he wasn't able to complete that. I wonder, as mayor, what will you do specifically to clean up the air in an area like this, as well as the city?
One of the things that Mayor White did was have the city invest in monitoring equipment so that we could create our own record of violation rather than having to depend on the state to do that. By controlling the monitoring equipment, by creating that record of violation, we can either compel the state to step in and do the enforcement they're supposed to do, or we can go it alone if we need to. Where the mayor ran into problems was when he unilaterally decided to go after some of the polluters who are not within the physical boundaries of the city of Houston. A regional cooperative approach is always better, but if they're not going to help us, then we are going to have to, as a city, do what we need to do to, and that includes litigation, to protect our citizens and the air that we breathe. Now the city, that's the enforcement side. The city also, we try to lead by example. We have converted a significant portion of our fleet to hybrid and alternate fuel vehicles. We get 40% of I believe our current power from wind energy, and the current mayor has been exploring options for solar as well, although the economics are not as good on solar. We have pioneered the use of different formulations of clean diesel, working with some of the refineries here to help us. We are a large fleet operator, and to try to figure out better formulations for that. One area where the city could take another step forward is in the use of biodiesel. There are federal subsidies that level out the cost between biodiesel and regular diesel, and we have an opportunity to help build the market for biodiesel. And finally, we need to do a better job of educating our citizens, and that I believe we should go to the legislature and ask for an opt-out provision instead of what is now an opt-in provision, in terms of allowing the city to bargain for electric rates with CenterPoint Energy, the major electric provider. What I mean with an opt-in or an opt-out, the the city actually has the authority to bargain with the electric provider, but citizens have to decide they want to be part of the city's negotiations. If we had if we had an opt-in, if we had an opt-out program instead of an opt-in program, we would be empowered to act and try to drive the rates down for everybody. But we could also negotiate things like credits for installation of solar panels, which San Antonio and Austin provide and have helped build the solar energy industry there, but because they own their own electric utility. Houston doesn't own the electric utility, so we have to work through the provider. That was a long answer. It's been a long night. I'm sorry. I kind of rambled on that one. But I have thought a lot about this. There are a lot of things that we can do, and I want to continue to do everything aggressively.